Good evening, all, and welcome to the Bird Acoustics, Migration Patterns, and Citizen Science Workshop, organized by the Nature's Eye, powered by Wildlife Arc. My name is Tasneem, and I will be your host for this insightful and enriching workshop. To tell you a bit about us, the Nature's Eye is a passionate community dedicated to exploring and conserving the natural world. We are committed to sharing knowledge, inspiring action, and fostering a deeper connection with nature. This workshop is designed to immerse you in the fascinating world of birdwatching, bioacoustics, and citizen science. Over the next 3 days, you will gain valuable insights and practical skills to master bird identification, unlock the secrets of bird acoustics, understand bird migration, and contribute to global conservation. We are honored to have two exceptional experts leading this workshop. Ms. Chai Inglaw, who is a communications specialist and CSR storyteller. Chai has a deep passion for sharing her knowledge and inspiring others. She has dedicated herself to citizen science and conservation and is particularly intrigued by bird behavior. She hopes that by spreading awareness about birds and their importance in the larger scheme of things, more people will step up to help birds, and in doing so, also help themselves. Her dedication and expertise contribute to global bird watching and conservation efforts. Her inputs on bird ID and bioacoustics will enable you to become a responsible and ethical bird watcher. Moving on to our second speaker, Ms. Samakshi Tiwari, who is a wildlife researcher, conservationist, and mangrove monitoring researcher. Samakshi is a talented wildlife researcher and conservationist within her in-field research including bird surveys and mangrove monitoring. She is committed to protecting biodiversity and promoting sustainable practices. She will talk about observing and reporting birds. She has recently joined the bird monitoring group at the Nature Conservation Foundation as a project coordinator, where her devotion to bird conservation and environmental research continues to make a positive impact. Before we embark on this exciting journey together, I would like to thank both Ms. Chai Inglaw and Ms. Samakshi Tiwari for agreeing to lead this workshop. Your expertise and willingness to share your knowledge are truly invaluable. Thank you so much for joining us. I kindly request all participants to remain muted unless interaction is required. There will be a Q&A session at the end of today's workshop. While the speakers will do their best to answer all your questions within the session's time, if any questions remain unanswered or if we run short on time, please feel free to post them in the group chat. Our experts will respond as soon as time permits. Now, without further ado, I would like to hand over the session to Ms. Chai and Ms. Samakshi.
Chai, would you like to begin? Anything?
Just happy to be here and looking forward to learning together. In the next 3 days, I think today Samakshi will be leading the show, and tomorrow I will be taking a lead, and then day after we will work in tandem to tell you about birds. Over to you, Samakshi.
Thanks, Chai. Thank you, Tasneem, for the introduction. Thank you, Nature's Eye, for having us here. So I will just share my screen. Let me know whenever that is visible. Yeah, I hope it is visible, Tasneem.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So before that, I mean, we have quite a few participants. Could everyone just quickly mention the state they're from? You can just unmute yourself and mention, or you can put it in the chat box. Okay, we have someone with Pooja from UP, Maharashtra, Delhi, Uttarakhand, Karnataka, Uttarakhand again, MP, West Bengal. All right, we have people from different states just asking to get some context of the birds that we might want to talk about. We have people from Kerala, Karnataka. All right, thank you everyone. Gujarat, Darshak from Gujarat. Priyanka, I think from West Bengal, like from Punjab. Thank you guys for responding. So, is my PPT is visible, right? When I'm clicking on that? Chai?
Yes,
Yeah?
it is.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You might want to go into presentation mode, or you want to keep it like this.
Maybe I'll keep it like this. It's giving me more control.
ठीक है.
So, yeah. So, what we will basically be talking about is a bit about the introduction to birding, birds, how we can observe birds, how we can upload the information that we are seeing. We can talk about our observations, a checklist. We will talk about all of this, what a checklist is, what an audio call is, and how it can be recorded. We will, if anywhere anybody feels that there is too much of jargon, or we are using words that are difficult to understand, or these are for, if you feel these are words specific to the birding community, please feel free to mention in the chat if we are by mistake unintentionally using some words that are difficult to understand. So bird acoustics, acoustics means call, sound, and migration patterns will refer to the movement of birds, and citizen science. So citizen science will refer to the kind of information gathering that all of us, you, me, people living anywhere, our parents, people younger to us, all of us can do and contribute to science and conservation. And starting with a very basic question, why do we think birds matter? Would people like to chip in their responses in the chat? Tasneem, I hope people can unmute and talk.
Yeah, sure, they can.
So if anybody wants to quickly respond by unmuting, please do that. Yes, Ria from Vadodara, Gujarat. Hello. Please let us know why do we think birds are important in the first place? Why all this, you know, attention towards birds? Seed disbursement, maybe. Yes, Viresh, thank you. Other people? Seed dispersal might be the more common word that we use. Bioindicator, all right. All right, Vishwajit, we will come more to that role.
Samakshi, you've gone on mute.
Okay. I was just saying, other people, please chip in. We want to keep this interactive. Significant part of cycle keeps insect population in control. Yes. Akshata said that. My three important role in food chain, food webs. Birds are keystone species like. Yes. Insect population control. They also disperse seeds. Yes, like. Puja, significant part of the cycle. Yes, we have we have quite a few responses, and this is exactly what we will be actually getting at: food production, cleaning environment, migration. Yes. So yes, I think all of us should balance our ecosystem. Yes, so I think all of us are on the line. Health of ecosystem. Yes. So as somebody has just pointed out, Biswajit, I think he has just no, Dr. Gopal has just pointed out, birds are key indicators of environment health. And what do we mean by that? What we mean by that when we monitor birds and if we see a particular type of birds declining, it might indicate that there is some problem in the ecosystem, some intervention might be needed, some conservation attention might be needed. We've all heard about vultures declining. So maybe that indicates that the cleaning services that birds provide might be getting reduced. Yes, Pooja, like vultures declining, right? Whenever we see that a big group of birds are declining at a place, it might call for some kind of conservation attention. Birds are pollinators, yes. If we lose a lot of birds in an area that help in pollination, we might really struggle to conserve the trees and plants around us. So we need to have all this in check. We need to keep studying all this regularly. And birds also provide us with a lot of services, like a lot of us have mentioned, right? We talk about seed dispersal and construction of cavities. So this bird that we see here on the right is an Indian grey hornbill. How many of you have seen this? Quick responses, just yes or no. Have we observed this bird around us? We have people from different areas. Akshat has, Priyanka has. Yes, so this is a very common bird, and it's kind of called an ecosystem engineer. It will construct cavities which might be used by some other species also. And then we have a smaller picture here of a spotted owlet, which they help in clearing pests, killing away certain rodents that can be harmful, again help in cavity construction. So there's so many roles that birds are providing, and also it is a little easier to study birds. When we want to study an ecosystem, it can be very difficult to study insects, it can be challenging to study reptiles, you might have to handle reptiles to study them. But birds are relatively easier to observe, and so you observe birds, and in the birding community, we often use this words. Birds are a proxy to understanding the ecosystem. So, and what we mean by that is like if you know the health of birds in an area, you might be able to understand how other taxa or other groups of animals are doing. We have a question here. Metri has asked, how is cavity construction helpful? So, cavity construction is helpful because it helps other animals also. It might help reptiles, it helps other birds itself. Hornbills might make a cavity, it might be used by a man, it might be used by something else. So, that way, cavity construction is helpful. When we talk about hornbills, hornbills also disperse seeds to very far of distances, so that can help in a new forest coming up somewhere or just the maintenance of a forest. So that also becomes a service. And I mean, would we all know the I think a lot of us might know the story in Ramayana about vultures, about Jatayu trying to protect Sita. So birds have had some kind of a cultural significance since several years. And when we talk about India, we have over 1,300 birds. Let's just imagine that number. Let's just imagine that variety. More than 1,300 different bird species, different kinds of birds around us, small to big, some flightless, some that fly long distances. Just look at the kind of ecosystems we have. We have people from Uttarakhand, we have the Himalayas, the snowy areas over there, and then if we had people from Karnataka, uh, maybe some tropical forests, wet deciduous forests in maybe Orissa, dry deciduous forests in MP. So there's so much variety of habitat, so many different organisms, and so many different birds. 12% of the diversity of birds in the world can be found in our country. And some birds over here just giving you names. Please don't get overwhelmed by trying to identify species. That is not at all the priority of the this entire 3 days. We just want to introduce everybody to birding and what and how birds can be observed. Our objective is not to become people who are very good at identifying birds right off the bat. So please don't get overwhelmed when I tell you any bird names. It's just out of curiosity. If anybody is curious, I'm just letting you know this. The bird on the top is a bulbul. The bird down here on the left is a water hen, and the bird to the right is a kingfisher. We won't go into the very specific details right now. Just letting you know how certain birds look like. So these are very common birds around us. One second, I have some problem. Yes. Yes, so these are the birds around us. This is the small bird here is a coppersmith barbet. You might hear it sometimes. It's a very tiny bird. And we see kites, we see manas around us, we see drongos. Drongos are that black color birds you'll see on a lot of trees. They'll be running behind other birds, maybe running around dogs, sometimes running around cats. And they are actually amongst the best mimics. The drongos, they will be mimicking other birds around us. This bird that we see here is a house crow, then these are woodpeckers. Nothing to get overwhelmed, these are just some birds around us. And now we come to an interesting exercise. I would like everybody, we all know this is a crow, so no points for that. But I would like you to try to describe this bird in any way possible. Um, I will try to call out people if that's okay and if they can unmute themselves and just tell us one feature. Priyanka, would you like to start? If it's okay to point out like that. Okay, Pooja, we have got scavenger. Fine, that's a behavioral aspect. What I'm trying to get at is, can you define the bird by the looks of it? We want that first. By the looks of it, is it white? Is it black? Is it gray? How does it look? What's the beak like? How many colors do you see? Where is it situated? We would like that information. So, I think bluish black. Okay, Priyanka, we've got bluish black. Other people fine. I won't point out, it will take more time. But yes, everybody please chip in. What are you observing about this particular individual? Black eyes, all right, Viresh, yes, that is an important point. Other people please.
It has a sharp beak.
Sharp beak, right, Pooja? Yes. Other people?
I also know one thing about crows is
Yes.
that I read it somewhere that they are very, mm, they can remember faces also. And they
Yes.
can make tools out of the twigs. You know, the wooden twigs, they can also make tools.
Okay, okay. I am not sure of the tools point,
Intelligent.
but yes, they are totally considered to be an intelligent bird, and we have,
Yeah, yeah.
there are some studies coming up wherein some researchers have found that birds can, some species, they can identify their own mirror image, so they can understand that they're seeing themselves. There are some species that can probably do that. So I have to look up which species is it, but thank you, Pooja, for bringing that up. Other people, please chip in your points. Black head and wings, my three. Grey neck and body, medium large beak. Darshit black-headed, black-bodied with greyish neck and breast area and sharp beak for tearing flesh. Okay. Uh, Sharmishtha Oja found all over India mostly. Yes. But still, we will narrow it down to what we are seeing in the bird and not what we know about it. What are you seeing in just this picture? Let's assume that we have never seen a crow before. What else are we observing? Where is it perched? Are we getting an idea of where it is standing? Anybody?
Looks like a door or something.
Yeah, looks like a door. Okay. Maitri, thank you. On a gate. On a gate, yes, possible. Makes different calls. Perched on a gate. All right. So this is what we can observe about this species. It is size wise. Yes, we often try to whenever we'll see a new bird, we'll try to compare it with respect to size. We will look at what other bird is like. So maybe it's a little bigger than a pigeon. When we'll see other birds, we'll actually be comparing it to crows only. Maybe it's smaller than a crow, larger than a crow, because a crow is a very common bird, so that can be a starting point. So fine, we think I think feeds are equipped for a mixed feeding habit. Yes, we can probably say that. Grey nape. We've got another response by Amlan. Okay, fine. So I'll move to the next bird. Again, identifying the species is not important. We just want to tell what we are seeing on the screen. Like if I ask you to, all you have is a notebook and you have to write down what you saw, what are the points you're going to note? So anybody, please, you can unmute yourself, you can write in the chat box. What do you see? Okay, we don't want the name. We don't want the name. We want to see how we observe. Red vent. Yes, it has a red vent. For people who might be a little new, this thing you see down below, reddish in color, that's a vent. That is why it gets the name of the red vented bulbul. A conical head. Yes, Viresh. We have a conical head. Other people, please chip in. What color? What color is the head? Black head, white color
Black.
beneath, red vent. Yes, black.
And
Any
it
other?
is very, uh, you know, it's not too heavy, it's very light.
Yes, it's a light.
And
Go on, go
light,
on.
light in weight.
Yes, looks like that. Long brown feather at the back. Okay, Bhumika. Small beak. Yes. Black eye. Black cap-like structure on head. Red brown wings. Tail smaller than. Yes, that's the kind of comparisons we need, Maitri. Is it smaller than a crow? Is it larger than a crow? Yes. Black eyes. All right. Yes, this is the red-vented bulbul. Few red feathers at recesses. Okay. Any comments on the habitat? Where are we seeing it? Is it in a bush? Is it in a tree? It could be either. It's a bulbul, yes, as some of you have pointed out. But what are we perceiving from this image? Where is it? In a bush? In a bush or tree? It could be either. Yes, fine. Right. All right. Moving on to this sweet little bird that I really, really like. Let's define this bird here. Yes, let's please define the bird that I just showed. No, it's not a sunbird, and we don't want to identify the species again. Gray head, yes, it has a gray head, yellow bellied. Okay, okay. What else? Amlan, yes, yellow bellied. Other people, please chip in. Small beak, small size. Yellow wing. Sparrow-sized bird with grey head, yellow belly, brown feather, very small, greenish wings, large eye. Okay, greenish to yellow wing, yellow bellied. Okay, green feathers. Okay, more of yellowish green. Fine, we can do that. Black eyes, yellow underneath, crested hair. Okay, crest is something like पता नहीं शेंडी बोलते हैं हम लोग घर पे ऐसे ऊपर आ जाता है आई थिंक चाहे व्हाट हाउ कैन आई डिफाइन अ क्रेस्ट इन अ बेटर वे इन दिस वन
Crest, how do we define it? Good question. It's like a cap, I think, on your
yeah
head. I mean, a conical cap on your head.
yes maybe like a yeah yes Jen. A white eye ring perched on a branch or tree yes smaller in size yes it's even smaller than that bulbul citrine body yes citrine will be one of the yellowish shades as Darshit has pointed out small peak okay so this is a gray-headed canary flycatcher. This is a photograph from Rajasthan. I'm just letting you know the species name, but it doesn't really matter so much. Then we have another species here. Let's define this. We don't have to identify the species. Whatever you see, it's not even that clear an image. But whatever we see, please mention what all you're able to observe. Yes, blue feather. First thing, yes. Size of the bird. Any comments on the size? Feel free to unmute yourself. Big wings compared to body. Okay. Medium size. Medium with respect to what? Yeah. Pigeon sized. Okay. Okay. Medium size. Are you comparing that with a crow and you're calling a crow a medium sized bird? That's fine. Not the species name as of now. I know it's very exciting to do. Compared to a crow. Yes, Priyanka. Like pigeon. All right. 10 inches. Okay, maybe a little larger than 10 inches. Different coloration in feathers and comparatively equal to a crow, I guess. Okay, possible. Oh, sir, mixture of blue and white feathers, big size. Yes. Okay, fan-like tail, gray to black wings and tail, white bands on tail wings, tricolor. Okay, bigger size than other previous birds. Yes, agreed, sir, Mister. Like doves. Okay, maybe larger than a dove, but fine. We can maybe not exactly like a dove, but it's a different species. But maybe if size wise you're comparing, then this species is larger than a dove in size, larger than common manna, definitely. Alright, so this bird is an Indian roller. It's the state bird of quite a few states. I cannot right at the top of my mind remember which all states, but it's quite common in the southern states, even in Rajasthan. It's called the Neelkant. And unfortunately, with this species, a lot of places people believe that if you see it, it will carry your message to certain gods. Okay, state bird of Telangana and Odisha. Yes, Vishwajit and Arun Kumar. Thank you for pointing that out. So this bird, people often might capture it and keep it in closed enclosures so that people around certain festive occasions can see the bird and make a wish in their mind, and the bird might carry the wish to some local god. So yes, that could be a reason why it is being captured a lot in certain areas. And this species in general has been declining. And would anybody like to guess why? This is an Indian roller. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. This is an Indian roller bird. It's found in grassland areas. Would anybody like to take a guess as to what could be the threats that this bird is facing other than the one that I just mentioned? Reduction in grassland Viresh, yes. Others, pesticide. Could be. Maybe their preys are being damaged. A lot of insects might be being, killed and it's not able to find food. Yes. Any other guesses? That's one of the right points. Captivity possible. Reduction in grasslands. Any other people? Palm tree might be too direct in accusation right at the moment, but yes, it could be more of replacement of its natural habitat, which are open areas. So we might use the word open areas here and there. Open areas basically mean grasslands, areas where there is grass, maybe some trees in the middle. Those are open areas. Integral to Durga Puja in Bengal was held captive and released for a ritual. Yes, that does happen, not only in Bengal but in other areas. At least in North India, I'm a little aware of it. I'm not sure of the southern states. Soil erosion. Maybe if the habitat is getting damaged. What is the importance of roller? What does it help in mainly? So it's a grassland bird. It will help in keeping the food chains and food webs in grassland areas intact, and also feeding on insects that might be found around maybe agricultural habitats and open areas. Um, all right, yes, this is one of the threats to this bird. So now I have just tried to give you a small basic ideas of what we observe in birds. We will come to identifying the species later. I do feel that some of you already know how to do it to some degree, some of you don't, and it doesn't matter. We are not here to talk amongst bird experts, and both me and Chai are also learning about birds and how to identify birds. But the idea is whatever we see, what to whatever degree we're able to understand and identify the birds we see, we would like to document them, right? It would be nice to have a checklist of whatever we're observing, where we're observing, what are the other details? Are we observing certain birds in the morning, certain birds in the afternoon, certain in the evening and night? How are these observations changing? Maybe you observe Indian rollers more commonly in June and maybe not so much in December. So maybe they migrate locally, or maybe they're just not active during December. This is just, I'm not saying this is what happens with rollers. I'm just trying to mention how we can think about birds. So we would maybe like to document birds, and yes, it's a slight leap here to what we are trying to do with our basic bird observations at the moment. So there is a database called eBird. How many of you are aware of it? Please just mention that quickly in the chat box. Yes, okay. Yes, yes is perfect. I am aware. Yes. All right, not aware. Yes, yes, aware. All right. So eBird is, for those of us who are aware and who are not aware, eBird is basically a database. It's a citizen science. It's a platform where all of us citizens can put in our observations. There are different protocols. We will come to these a little later, and we can mention the birds we saw, and it acts like a database where we can upload all the audios we record, the photos of birds we take, and it keeps a record of the bird species we've been recording in an area over the years, different areas, and a checklist. A checklist is basically just one second, I will show you what a checklist is. This is what a checklist is. It's a list of the birds that we are seeing. We can add the number of birds, individuals that we're seeing. We can add the photographs, a few comments about their habits, and this is what will form one checklist of the birds we have seen. We will come to what stationary, complete, number of people, the time spent is, and these are quite self-explanatory things. But yes, there are different ways to save the information that we have. So the database eBird that we're talking about, it will provide all information about your checklist, your photos, your audios, the number of species you have recorded in regions, and it will segregate them according to years. It's a very user-friendly platform. It is constructed for all of us to use. So you can keep a neat record of all your observations, and it will also highlight the areas that you have already visited, also some areas that you have not visited or not recorded birds in. And the website itself gives you the option of exploring more about species. So here you can just type in a species name and read more about it. Or you can type in a region name, for example, say Rajasthan or Ajmer or Karnataka, and read about the list of birds that might be present there, or look into any other information that is relevant. We also have species maps, photos. You can search according to whatever is convenient to you. A hotspot is a place that has been designated as an area where we could find a lot of species. So, say you're traveling to Bangalore and you want to know where you can go to record or see a lot of birds. So, maybe you can try to find the hotspots near wherever you're staying and go there and bird. There could be some nice species to find there. So I have explained what a checklist is. Just a bit of basic. This is how the app looks like. The slides I showed you on top were the website. You can download the app. It's a free app to use, and then this is how the interface looks like when you want to put in a checklist. The time and data taken automatically, even the GPS, and then you can just click on start a checklist. I hope it is clear what a checklist is. Could people please respond if you've understood what a checklist is? Any confusion with that? Please let me know. I would be happy to explain. Clear, clear. Pooja is clear. Ketiravan, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. That is clear. Yes. All right. All right, if there's any confusion, please let me know. So here we can start a checklist, and as we walk in a trail or we stand in an area, maybe we stand in our balcony, we can type in the birds that we are seeing, and it will record whatever birds that we are coming across. So yes, this is how the interface will look like. You can just search in maybe the first word, the second word. There are also codes. We will not get into that as of now, and record the birds that we are seeing. Chai will be training you better on how to make checklists maybe in tomorrow's session. And so yes, this database can also be used to learn more about birds. How many of you have an eBird ID or have used the website a bit? Just to get some context of how much I need to explain. Please respond in the chat or audio. Not yet. Okay, okay. Viresh, fine. Yes, I have. Malin, okay. No. Okay, Maitri. All right. No, Govinda, no. Biswajit has. Ria hasn't. Okay. Have and use it. I have an idea and I use it frequently. All right, Darshit. Pooja, no. Okay. So when if you, there's no compulsion, but you're free to observe birds the way you like. But if you choose to use eBird, you have to make an account. It's a free account, and when you do that, you also get access to something called Birds of the World. So, Birds of the World is a database which has all information about a lot of birds, and it is actually paid in a lot of countries. But for Indian users, we can access it for free if we have an eBird account. So, there's another thing called Merlin I will talk about soon. So. eBird, Merlin, and Birds of the World, all three can be used by your same account, same email ID, whatever you are using. Um, so yes, when you open the eBird website, say you go on Explore Species and you type in Indian Paradise Flycatcher. So this is an Indian Paradise Flycatcher. This is a male, very interesting bird. The male is of a rufous or orangish color in this image, and the female will be okay, rather the male is actually whitish in color and the female is much smaller and it has a rufous patch. And sometimes the male will also look like this when it has a longer tail. It has different kinds of plumages or different kind of plumage means how a bird looks. So very fascinating bird and it looks very beautiful in the forest if you see it fly. And when you will just scroll down, you will come to Birds of the World where you can just click on Explore Indian Paradise Flycatcher and then you can get some more information about the bird. So here you can see everything that you need to see about the bird, where it is found in which season, about its history, about history. Systematics is how the bird has been classified. You can have a look at that. The subspecies that might be found, distribution, habitat, movement, diet, all of these things. You can even understand more about the sex or how the male is different from the female, all of these things through Birds of the World. So it's if you choose to make an eBird ID, all of this access is available along with it, and you can find it on the same web page. And similarly, there is another app called Merlin, and it's a free to use app. And when you download it, you will have the option of downloading the pack or the data depending on the region you are in. So, for example, I am currently based in South India, so I have downloaded a pack for South India. And all this is it's very easy to access. In case anybody tries it out today and they're not able to do it, you can please let us know tomorrow. We'll be happy to guide you. And you can download the pack and you can set in your language, your common language, and you will be able to read about all the birds in the area. This is the third screenshot. You can simply type in a bird name or you can just scroll through it, right? What you see on the right is some birds, like maybe one looks like a duck or maybe one looks like a parakeet, one looks like a pigeon, and that is why we were trying to define how a bird looks or the size of a bird. Sometimes when you'll observe a bird, you might remember the color and you might remember that it looks like it's maybe the size of a crow, and that can be a starting point in trying to identify it. So this app will work in that way. So here you can put in your location. Yes, your location and the date on which you saw the bird. And on the right, the screenshot you see, that is where the information of whether a bird looks larger than a crow or smaller than a crow can help, right? When we saw that small canary bird, I will maybe select here that this is how the bird looked like. when I want to ID the roller, and if I don't know which roller it is or which bird it is, I will maybe click on this bubble because maybe the bird was a little larger than a crow, and with a bit of hit and trial, I can see whether no, maybe it was as big as a crow. It only looked larger to me, so we can see all of these things. And then when we are scrolling or when we type in search, we can look at any species. For example, this is the Indian golden oriole. I'm sure some of you might have seen this around, might have heard it around. And you can read about the bird. You can listen to its calls. So at a lot of times when you hear the call, it might be easier to identify birds. A lot of birds that look very similar, they differ quite well in their call. And then if you can identify the call, you might be able to identify the bird better. And then you can also look at the range of uh, the species. So I have a few tasks here, and these are not compulsory. It's all up to you. If you're interested, please do it. If not, it's all right. You can maybe just have a look at the eBird website. If you like, you can make an ID, or you can just look at what the database is like. There is another database that Amlan has mentioned about, iNaturalist. Now, that is also another citizen science platform where you can upload your observations, you can read about birds, and also other taxa, other maybe reptiles, insects. You can that iNaturalist can function as a database for all the species that you're seeing, whether they're birds or not. So maybe you can also explore that if you like. Again, it's free to use. If you like, you can check out the Birds of the World database. Look, maybe pick up any one or two species that you like, read up about them. And if you like, please download eBird and Merlin. Again, read about your birds and see what you're familiar with, what you're not. So these are the basic things I wanted to explain today. First, I will take some doubts, and then we will try to describe some more birds that are present on these slides. And but yes, please, how do these databases help? Yes, Pooja, we will come to that. What would be better choice, Merlin or BirdNet? Darshit, I don't personally use BirdNet as much. Chai, do you use BirdNet? I am not.
Neither do I. No, I'm not familiar with
Yeah,
BirdNet. I have
so
not explored it.
yeah, so both of us are not very familiar with BirdNet. So I don't think we can comment on that. But Merlin, Merlin, Merlin is quite a good database, and it's all based on the information, birds, and audio calls that citizens like us have been putting up. Pooja, I will come to your question. I have seen it. Any other questions, please? All right. So Pooja will answer your question. Maybe by then we might get a few more questions. So as I mentioned earlier, eBird, talking about eBird particularly, eBird is a citizen science platform. So anybody anywhere can upload or add on the information that they're seeing. We can talk about the birds that we see. And on our third day, we will be talking about how all the data that people like you and me have been uploading have helped researchers understand what all species have been declining. And say, for example, you go to an area and you put up a checklist every single day in the morning, and you record an Indian roller for during one particular season, say every day. And the next day you go there or somebody else goes there and you do not record that. And then the year after that, you don't record it again. So it could be that the Indian roller, for whatever reason, is not found in that area anymore. We get to know these kind of nuances, and when you look at this at a larger scale, maybe at the state level, at the country level, you can understand much more about the population of entire species. Also, we learn about how birds migrate. Right? Say in the month of January, people in Himachal and maybe Uttarakhand are recording one particular species very often in the lower areas, but maybe in November they don't record that species there at all, but some bird watchers in Tamil Nadu are recording that species. So that can help us understand how and when that species might be migrating. So there are a lot of different ways such databases help. We will come to that. We will explain that in detail. Does that solve some of the question you had, Pooja, or is it still very murky? All right, Pooja. Darshit, I get confused in order to differentiate between bird calls a lot, and I'm unable to clarify what bird it is. What am I supposed to do to improve in it? All right, Darshit, I don't think we should be so worried about it. We all do this for fun. And so what particularly happens with me even now, what used to happen is when you go with a lot of other people, maybe who are very good at identifying bird calls, it might get a little overwhelming. Because maybe other people are able to identify faster than us or they know more than us. But when we go and enjoy, when we go into bird watching, our objective should be to just enjoy and soak in whatever we can. And you will learn by practice. I think maybe if you have some good mentors to go around, some more experienced bird watchers to go around, you will be able to identify birds better. But I would say don't get so worried about it in case like you're not able to identify birds unless you are doing a project on birds, and that makes it very important for you to identify bird calls right at the moment. Let it be a skill that comes to you slowly and enjoy while you do it. There's no need to absolutely get overwhelmed while you're recording birds. If you're worried about how it might look at a checklist, the eBird checklist allows you to just mention bird species, or maybe say pipit species. Pipits are small birds again found on mainly grassy areas, open areas, maybe in agricultural fields also. And I particularly find them very confusing. A lot of people find them very confusing. So you can just add pipit species if you're not able to narrow down on what exact species it is. Similarly for warblers, again, warblers are very small birds, very confusing for a lot of people. And you can just add warbler species, or sometimes so there are two warbler species. One is called a green warbler, one is called a greenish warbler. They look very alike, so people will get confused. And to me, they sound very similar also. So eBird allows you to put that option green/greenish warbler. So you're not making the data inaccurate if at all you're not able to identify some species. So please don't worry about it. So we have some information from Amlan. BirdNet is an app where we can also find out and identify bird calls through IDs. I personally use it, but I think Merlin is quite better because Merlin continues to scan the calls which have been heard. But in case BirdNet, we have sets recorded data. So okay, Aman, if you find Merlin better, that's great. If you find BirdNet better, that is great. If you like to just bird by the ear, just for yourself, you don't want to upload anything, that is also great. We bird the way we like to bird. And yes, if at all we will slowly understand how all this data can be used for research, and then we can decide if and when we want to upload our information. A lot of us, I think Chai might also agree, and I also bird this way. When I might put up everything I record on eBird. So you have the option of putting in complete checklist where you add on everything you're seeing. Sometimes you can put in incidental checklist. So I go outside and I see a roller bird. But I don't want to properly sit and do bird watching over there, so I can just put in an incidental record that I saw a roller bird. So we bird at our pace, we bird at our convenience. Darshit, yes, I'm a BSc zoology and I'm thinking of joining on a bird acoustic project. So a little worried about differentiating on calls. All right, I think if you're just doing a BSc, you still have time to become an expert. And I think if you really want to learn the skills, it's a bit about practice. All of us, even who are working on birds professionally, struggle with certain bird calls always. And that's the fun of it. Imagine you start birding and within 6 months you can identify all bird calls. What's the fun in it? Why would you go birding after that? So it's always fun to not be able to identify some things and just keep worrying about it, thinking about it, discussing with people about it, and then finally concluding what bird we have seen. So that's the fun in it. That is maybe what will keep you in bird watching for very long, or bird research in very long. So I would say please don't worry about it. Chai, any comments on Darshit's query?
I think more importantly, like Samakshi said, Darshit, it's important for you to enjoy. And there are certain ways in which different things work for different people. We'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow on, how bird calls and, play a few bird calls and, do a little quiz and things like that. But don't, like she said, don't stress. It is a process and it will take time. Like anything that we learn, it will take time. And, we'll talk about it tomorrow a little bit more in details. Sorry.
Right, Shai, thanks. Also, Darshit, if I got you right, see, you might be doing a project in Northeast and you'll get familiar to the calls there, and then you'll travel to some other place and then you'll feel clueless for a while again. And then maybe when you go back to Northeast, you'll again be wondering, very familiar calls will feel odd. So that's the fun in it, and I think we all enjoy it. So don't worry. I think as a BSc zoology student, nobody expects you to be an expert in bird calls. Nobody expects you to be an expert for much longer. So it's all a learning curve. Vimal, I'm partial colorblind. I see many differentiate birds by their colors. Does color play a major role, or we can just identify by calls? I think it's a mix of both. Calls also help, colors also help, but sometimes the behavior of the bird might be a better marker. If you see a lot of birds, there the females are very dull looking, so you won't be able to differentiate the females very well by just looking at them. You'll have to look at the behavior, hear the calls. Though I do think it might. I don't really think it will be so difficult for you, Vimal, that you cannot do bird watching or anything. But I think it might be interesting, right? The way you will see things around you, birds around you. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but you might be colorblind with respect to certain shades and certain colors, right? It might not be an overarching issue. So I don't think, again, as we suggested to Darshit, that you should be overly worried about it. And of course, maybe you will end up relying more on calls, and that would also be a very nice skill, because in a lot of habitats it's difficult to see birds, and you might be hearing them more often than seeing them. How do Smita has asked, how do their plumage and feather colors change with time and different seasons? This bird that Yeah, so I don't have a cattle egret photo in this presentation, but cattle egret are this bagua that you see near cattle or wherever you see tractors moving, and you'll see that during the breeding season, which kind of coincides with the monsoon season, there is a yellowish plumage on the bird. It looks similar to the bird that I'm showing here, but it will have a yellowish uh, plumage as in yellowish coloration on some of the feathers, and during the non-breeding season you will not see it, and these colors are mainly to attract the mate. These changes happen usually in most species to attract the mate. So this is how it changes. A lot of feathers will change, uh, the coloration will change during different seasons, and also with age also you might see some differentiation. Darshit, thank you for the advice. Yes ma'am, I read about it. Yes, it changes color. Yes. All right, Smita. So if you have any questions, people, please keep pouring them in. In the meanwhile, let us try to define this bird that we see. Please chip in. I think color of any species may not be 100% right. Key to any bird. Birds of the same species may be seen in different colors of food availability. Well, I wouldn't say, in my experience, it's not so much about food availability, unless if the bird is just very unhealthy or something, we might see some problem with coloration. But in general, the plumage might it might differ at the subspecies level, but in one particular habitat, you might see different individuals of the same species looking similar. But yes, there could be some regional variations. You'd see that in some subspecies of bulbuls in certain areas, certain parts of their body look a little different. Okay, Viresh is at task defining the bird. Yellow beak, white body, black long legs. Yes. Anybody else? Okay, Dr. Gopal. Anybody else? Any description of the bird? Please, you can describe the habitat. Try to guess how big it is. Anybody? What kind of habitat is it standing in? Bigger than a crow, aquatic habitat, around 1.5 feet. Okay, marshes. Yes, this is actually an image from Sundarbans marsh. So mangrove area rather, slender lake, mostly wetlands, marshland, freshwater. Okay, we cannot say whether this is fresh or uh, freshwater or not. This is actually not freshwater. It is salty water from Sundarbans. So fine, but yes, larger than crow, semi-aquatic. Okay, we can say that. Okay, we have this bird. Okay, now we know this bird on the right is a hornbill, but if we can describe some features, we will not get too technical about it. We are all beginners here. So let's just try to get some idea of the bird. Mainly the size, maybe something about the habit, and some broad colors. Anybody on the hornbill? We know this is a hornbill. Strong beak, yes, it does look like a strong beak. It has a screechy voice. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Red eyes, okay. Brown red eyes, okay. Prominent and big beak with a casque above beak. Yes, 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 Darshit. Smaller than crow, curved beak, grey in color. Okay. Maybe there's something about the photo, but this bird will not be smaller than a crow. It is actually larger than a crow, well enough larger than a crow. But maybe it's the image it is looking like that. That's completely fine. Curved beak, grey in color. Okay. Unique beak, yes. And any other features? Large, long, arboreal, okay, arboreal means on trees, red eyes, frugivorous. Frugivorous means birds that feed more on berries and fruits, all of these things. Shrill calls South India, it is believed to bring rains. Okay, 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 Priyanka. What is the structure above the beak called? It's called a casque, CASQUE. That is what I think one of the viewers also mentioned. Split beak. If you're saying it's split from the middle, then all beaks will be split from the middle if that is what you meant. Whitish yellow belly. Okay, yes, that could be an important point for some species. Lives in tree burrows. Tree cavities, maybe? Burrows might be little down. When we talk about something that's on the tree, it might be a cavity. Arun Kumar, yes, fine, we have some understanding of this bird. Spotted owlet, I can skip for now. It's not a very good image. But let's talk about this vulture. This is a vulture. If we can try to describe how it looks. We don't have to get down to the species at the moment. It's not relevant. But can we define how the bird looks? Audience, please. Wide wings, large feathers, strong wings, small head, black bill. Structure of the beak is a casque, and mostly all hornbills have them, which helps them in differentiating them from tokens. Okay, Darshit, thank you. Bald head, large wingspan, gray, black head, strong claws, strongly built. Yes, yes, looks like a very strong bird. White, gray, mainly black margin. Okay, margin. I think you're referring to the edges of the wings. All right, we can do that for now. We don't have to get into the technical areas. Yes, Kathira, Kathiravan. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct, but yes, that's a good way to define it. Anybody else? But okay, I think for now we have this bird narrowed down. And for vultures, we will often look at the color of the head, the color of the beak, and of course the feathers. And one of the ways to identify vultures is how big or small they look relative to other vultures. So there might be two, three different species of vultures, or maybe even more in an area. And if we know their own relative size, that maybe vulture species one is bigger than vulture species two, that might be a good way to differentiate between vultures. Amongst the biggest birds, yes. Digits with strong claws for tearing flesh. Okay. Do vultures tear from their claws? Okay. Large wings for gliding and soaring, yes. Scavenging, yes. Okay. So now let's move on to the birds that we had skipped earlier. So let's define this bird. We did define one more bulbul species somewhere ahead in the presentation, but let's define this. This is also bulbul, and what do we observe here? Horn-like head, okay. Will do, Viresh. What else? What's the size of the bird? How are you going to compare the size of this bird with which other bird? Maybe the same bulbul that we saw earlier. The bulbul we saw earlier was a red-vented bulbul. Same size to red-vented, okay. Some people might think that it's a little larger than red-vented. I personally would say it is a little larger than red-vented. Red cheek bulbul with reddish color on the cheeks. Yes, same size, little bigger than sparrow. Okay, yes, it is definitely quite bigger than sparrow bhavya. Red cheeked. Okay, the head is white colored compared to the other one. Yes, yes, slightly smaller than Mena. Yes, Katiravan. Yes. So it is maybe slightly larger than the red-vented bulbul we saw and smaller than the Mena, more slender. And yes, it is another bulbul species. Now let's come down to this left image we see. It's a bird, it's found near a water aquatic habitat. I will tell you the name here. It's a water hen. It's a white-breasted water hen. But what all do you see in the bird? How will you describe it to somebody? Long legs, yes. Yes, Gurvindra. Rufus went. Okay, maybe not that important for this bird. And frankly, it's not that clear to me right now. Long leg, claws for holding. Okay. Very large finger digits. Yes. Yes, because it's maybe walking in that aquatic, marshy, wetish habitat with a lot of thickets. Thickets are those bushy things you see right next to around a pond or maybe water body. Can walk on lotus leaves. Okay. Short tail, small head. Okay. Yes. Small head, short tail, white breasted water hen, wader bird, marshy and shy bird. Okay, but maybe less shy than other water birds. It will maybe sometimes allow you to get a little close. Aquatic habitat with long legs and wide breast area, black eyes. Okay, we have the eyes also. Yes. All right, gray brown beak. Okay. So now let's look at this bird on the right. It's a kingfisher, and let's try to define it. Slightly tough to capture. Are you talking about the water hen? Yes, it might run away quickly. Reddish beak. Okay, it's not a very bright. You might have seen those birds, no, bluish color. On the front of the chest, it's white. No, it's not a white throat. This is okay. Maybe the throat looks white. This is not a white-throated kingfisher. Strong pointed beak. Yes. Darshit will come to the species name later. We don't want that to be the topic of the discussion here. Big beak. Yes, because it's a kingfisher. It will be hunting the uh, fishes or even frogs and other animals. Black head, okay. Large and long beak, black head. Yes, yes. And rufous again, below the white we see some rufous coloration. White orange belly, yeah, orange belly, white orange belly. Black tail. Do we see the tail? Yes. At least the underneath is black. Let's not be sure of what it is on the upper side, but yes, it's looking blackish from this angle. Any guess? Any guess on the size of the bird? What size are we comparing it to? How will we compare the size of the bird? Smaller than crow? Yes, fair, Darshit. More than size of bulbul? Yes, Virish. Between sparrow and manna. Okay, Mati, I would say it is kind of almost bigger than a manna. Maybe not 100% clear from the image, but it's kind of usually bigger than a manna. There are some very small kingfishers also. It's called a common kingfisher. That is very small. And that will be maybe between sparrow and manna, but this one will be bigger. This is not a common kingfisher. Larger than manna, smaller than crow, okay? Biggest white-throated kingfisher. Yes, can say maybe a little larger, but yes, maybe around that size will be good enough to ID. 9 inches. Rashmi, that's very accurate. I mean, that's very specific. I don't know if it's exactly 9 inches or not. But fine, if that's your estimate, if that helps you get clarity on the birds you're writing, that's your way of doing it. Fine. Crow we have seen. Red-vented bulbul we have seen. And we have, yes, can we define this bird? Black eyes with orange circle, Viresh. Red eye, brown plumage. Yes. Okay. Just larger than sparrow. Dr. Gopal, it's quite larger than a sparrow. It's not that smaller bird. I mean, sometimes the images can be confusing, but it's quite it's fairly larger than a sparrow. Brown orange body. Okay. Brown feather, gray beak, small beak. Yes. It's a And the eye we see here, this will be a very important point in certain birds. So this is a babbler. babbler are those birds, you'll be somewhere and making a lot of noise, especially around these radies and other areas. Yes, it's a yellow-eyed babbler, very small bird with orangish eye color. Okay, so though it's called a yellow-eyed babbler, the eye is a little more orangish. Like the inner part looks black, and then the boundary line is um, orange. So yeah, that we have different pointers for identifying species, but it's a shrike. No, it's not a shrike, Smita. Small pointed beak looks like a pinya. Yes, we might from a distance, when you're walking into certain bushes and it flies from one point to the other, you might think, oh, there's a pinya there. And then when you'll get close, you'll realize it's a yellow-eyed babbler. Totally possible. We all, uh, I think it can happen. Thin legs and claws, orange legs. Okay, orangish legs, thin eyes and claws. All right. All right, I think that's all with the species. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't remember this images here. This is a cattle egret, and this is how it looks like during the breeding season. And during the non-breeding season, it will look almost entirely white. So this is how the plumage or the colors of the bird will change throughout the season. Anybody, can you define this bird? Very common bird. Foot look like Ashiprinia with small claws. Okay, Rashmi. Okay, that's your comparison. Laughing Dove. That's it. We don't want the names. No, Maitri. No, no, no. Not at all. So Maitri has a question here. Is it important to take pictures when we upload our observations on eBird? Not at all. Um, Photographs is something I love to click. I take a lot of photographs more than I record audio calls. Chai will be talking a little bit about quite a bit about audio calls tomorrow. But it is not at all important or compulsory to take any kind of images or audio calls when you're uploading. You're free to do it uh, just type in the names and upload the counts and upload. Just that there are certain protocols. For example, if you're moving less than 30 meters, it is called a stationary checklist. If you're walking and doing, it's called a traveling checklist. These are the things you have to mention clearly. In certain areas, certain birds might be a little rare. For example, maybe so in certain areas of Rajasthan, say the red cheeked bulbul that we saw earlier, this bulbul on the right, the top right is it's quite rare in, for example, a district called Ajmer. It's a rare bird. But when we look at this bulbul, a red-vented bulbul, it is much more common. So maybe if you put in an observation about red-whiskered bulbul, you might get an email from somebody who's reviewing for eBird requesting you to add on some more information. And that does not have to be images, it could just be what you observe. And eBird on its own, it will mark when you are about to submit a checklist, you will get an alert that XY species that you recorded is rare for the area. If you could add something more about it. So maybe you can mention the colors you saw, you can mention its habit. Was it on the top of a tree? Was it in a bush? Was it on the ground? Was it chasing other birds? Was it being chased? And all that information can be enough. You don't have to think it's compulsory to upload photos or videos. That does not have to be done. Okay, we have some. I forgot which bird we were defining. Okay, we were defining the dove. Yes. In case of cattle egret, are they produce those brown color or only in breeding season? They will do that throughout the breeding season. Like in this year's breeding season, they will do it. Next year's breeding season, they will do it, and after that, they will do it. Orangish gray head and neck, gray belly, darker wing around the size of a pigeon. Yeah, we got the size right. Gray belly, darker wing around the size of the pigeon. Okay, yes, darker wing, orangish color. Okay. Round black eyes, a straight line connect from I to B. Yes, such observations can be very important, Rashmi. For example, we do have some species of somebody's annotated. We do have some species of, say, barbreds, and for them, sometimes the best way to differentiate them will be the best. These kind of observations, whether the beak is connected with, some kind of a color or a line with the eye or some other part of the head. These such observations can be very, very useful in identifying the species. So yes, Rashmi, so such observations must be kept in mind. Bhavya, sometimes my eBird shows red yellow mark on common bird species as well. So Bhavya, that might be because there are certain filters that eBird uses, and wait, let's excuse that point for now. The red and yellow mark that you see, yellow is for infrequent and red is for rare, is based on the data that is being uploaded on eBird. So, for example, where I live, house crows might be very common, but nobody is uploading that information on eBird. So you might actually see that observation as infrequent or rare. You might see that yellow or red mark for a crow also, which according to you is very common, but maybe there are just not as many observations about that on eBird. So sometimes that happens, but you bird the way you bird, and whenever you see such information about any species, the more information you add, maybe you go to an area, it's a very, you see a common species that is always marked in red, but maybe when you will report it quite a few dozen times, or more people will come and report it, that is when maybe the filters might be adjusted to see that okay, this bird is actually common, it had not been reported before, but now it is being reported. So all this happens at the back end, but it doesn't affect how we observe birds. So Bhavya, I hope you don't see that as a problem as such when you are doing any kind of bird watching. Yes. Any other questions? Yes. So I think with terms of bird ID, that is all we had. And this will mostly be all for now. And here is my email ID. You can please write to me if there are any questions, if there's any way I can help you in using eBird or doing any other kind of bird watching or any other citizen science work. I mean, I'm not an expert, but yes, I will try my best to help you out. If there are any questions, please let us know. And if you like, please explore the maybe the eBird website or any other database that you like. There's any book you like, there's any maybe BirdNet somebody told us about, iNaturalist, whatever you like, so that you get to know about the birds around you, and then maybe we can have a richer discussion tomorrow and day after. If there are any questions, please put them. I really enjoyed the session, learned a lot. Thank you, Maitri. Thank you. I hope you join tomorrow and day after too. We have a lot of other exciting things to learn. We have kept things a little basic today because a lot of us are beginners here. And when I started off with bird watching, I had got very overwhelmed with trying to identify birds. And Chai and I really did not want that to happen. So we have kept things quite simple today. Had fun. Okay, Darshit, thank you. See you tomorrow too. Any other questions? Chai, would you like to um, convey anything, mention anything? Any tasks that you would like to suggest? Anything?
No, I think the task that you've given them, Samakshi, is good enough. I mean, if they explore eBird or if they explore birds of the world, even if they, just create an eBird ID for those of them who don't have. So those of you who don't have an eBird ID, if you think it is worth your while and you could create one, I think that in itself would be the first step, because tomorrow when we look at the platform, etc., you will be able to understand, how you can use it and things like that. So I think just get familiar. That's about it.
Yes. Okay, sir. And Pooja, thank you. It's Samakshi, not Samiksha. It's all right. I saw you corrected the spelling. Thank you so much. But yeah, I mean, please explore at your pace. Do it to the degree that you like. We're not here to. Viresh, thank you so much if you make it, but there's no pressure from our end. You
Hmm.
are free to learn and enjoy the sessions,
Yeah.
irrespective of whether you make an ID or not. We are here to learn birding and bird
Hmm.
watching, and
Correct.
however we like to contribute to science and conservation, we will do it at our pace. That shall be our objective. Hannah Chai, any correction to that?
No, no, absolutely. I mean, it's just enjoy watching birds. That's the first thing. And then the rest of it will come, as you enjoy more and more, I think the rest of it will just fall into place.
Amlan has a question. Birds of the world is what he asked. So I'll just quickly explain that. So Amlan, I told you about the eBird website. When you make an ID, you get a free access to the Birds of the World database. So it's a database. Database matlab, it's like a very big fat encyclopedia. You can type in the name of any bird and get all possible information about it. For example, where does it breed, where does it stay, what is the movement of the bird, how do you differentiate different species, all of that information you get on this database. The way to this is how the front page looks. But when you open eBird, you will get this option of explore species, explore regions. You can type in the name of any species you like here. So just for this presentation, I made the Indian Paradise Flycatcher. And the web page will open when you scroll down, नीचे की तरफ, you will get an option here to explore Indian Paradise Flycatcher and Birds of the World. And when you click on this, if you have an eBird account, you have free access to Birds of the World, at least for the Indian birds. And in a lot of other countries, it is paid. And once you do that, you will be able to look and read at all of this information. There are some references, there are a lot of images, and all of these things. And so this is how you can navigate through Birds of the World if
Samakshi,
you
we
type
can
in
show
any.
it to them tomorrow. Tomorrow, what I'll do is I will give them a walkthrough of the portal, and then
The
where
website.
to go to find Birds of the World, and then I think it'll become easier for them maybe. No, we can do that tomorrow.
Yeah, that is perfect. Amber, is it only found in eBird webpage? I think as of now, yes. It earlier was, I think, a separate database. You could make a separate ID for it, but now it is enmeshed with eBird, right, Chai?
It's actually they are all under the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. So when you do an eBird, whether you use the eBird ID, it's the same ID. It's with Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and you can use it across different platforms. That's about it. So that you don't have to do multiple logins and things like that. Just simplifying life. That's all.
Yes, yes. Also here, on the Explore Species page, you can click on Search Photos and Sounds, and you can look at the species that you want to learn about. I think Darshit was asking about audio calls. So yeah, if there are some closely sounding species that you're often confused about, you can use a lot of recordings and photographs that have been uploaded by people to read and learn without taking too much pressure. Yes, all right, Amna. Any other questions? Otherwise, Tasneem, I think we
Yeah,
can.
should I conclude, ma'am?
Yes, we can wait for a minute if there are any questions, and then we can.
Okay, sure, ma'am, sure.
I think also keep thinking of questions, make a note of them as they come to them, and then we have 2 more days, right? So we can discuss those questions also tomorrow or day after and things like that. Just make a note of your questions so that you all don't forget it.
Yes. And people have some questions about data visualization, like how does this all data help? We will come to that. We just didn't want to do it today because there was a lot of new things coming your way, anyways. So I don't think there are any more questions. But people, please try to make the time again tomorrow so that we have a little more holistic learning session. Thank you, Dr. Gopal. Tasneem and
Yes, ma'am. Should I conclude?
yeah.
Okay, okay. That concludes our first day of the workshop. We hope you all found the session both informative and engaging. We encourage each one of you to review the concepts covered today and complete the task you have been assigned. If you have any questions or encounter any challenges, please feel free to post them in the group chat. Our resource persons will get back to you as time permits. Thank you to our esteemed speakers, Ms. Samakshi, for generously sharing her expertise and insights. Thank you, Ms. Chai, for being with us till the end and giving advice to our participants. The recording of today's session will be uploaded shortly. Please be patient as we process it. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow at the same time for the next session, where we'll delve deeper into the concept of citizen science. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening ahead.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
Thank you, Tasneem.
Thank you, everyone. Bye
All
bye.
right, Viresh. See you. See you. See you tomorrow. Bye, Chai. See
Bye.
you. We'll get in touch.
Bye, Samakshi. Bye.